"Can you explain why you live backwards in time?" the boy Arthur once asked. "Because I choose to. It has many advantages," Merlin answered. "I don't see any," Arthur persisted. Merlin took his pupil outside and ordered him to dig a trench. Arthur fell to, and after some time finished, sweating and panting. Then the old wizard told him to fill it in again. Grimly, Arthur obeyed. "Now," said Merlin, "what did you think of that?" "It was pointless," Arthur blurted out. "Exactly. And so is most human effort. If you lived backwards in time, you would have seen ditch digging as pointless and not begun in the first place." The legends claiming that Merlin lived backwards in time were a simplification. Living backwards in time actually meant defying the natural cycle of birth and death. One must understand time as a wizard experiences it. "You mortals took your name from death," Merlin said one evening in the crystal cave. "We didn't choose death," Arthur protested. "It was thrust upon us." "No, you are simply used to it. Throw off this worn-out habit, and you will no longer be trapped in the net of time." "How does one do that?" Arthur asked. "Go back to the source of your habit," Merlin said. "Find the flaw in your logic and pluck it out. It is all very simple. The false logic is our identification with the body. Human bodies are born, grow old, and die. We fall under the spell of mortality and have no choice but to embrace death. To break the spell requires a shift of identity from the time-bound to the timeless. This is the real meaning behind the tale that Merlin lived backwards in time. He wanted to follow time back to its roots. To the wizard, death is merely a belief. If you see the universe as a storehouse of energy, then nothing ever dies, because energy cannot be destroyed. We have to break through the emotional boundaries that we use to define dead versus alive. The fear of death is one such boundary. There is a simple exercise, however, for confronting this fear. Sit down with some paper in a quiet room. Write the sentence, "I am afraid of," and finish it any way you like. Write the same sentence again and again, and let any ending that comes to mind be put on paper. You will discover many strange associations with fear, and these unexpected fears will bring emotions with them: anger, sorrow, and great relief. Let all emerge. The wizard's consciousness is a field that exists everywhere. The streams of knowledge contained in the field are eternal and flow forever. Centuries of knowledge are compressed into revelatory moments. When the ego is set aside, you have access to the totality of memory. One evening, Arthur woke up abruptly, shivering. "I was having a bad dream," Arthur mumbled. "I was the last person left on Earth." "You are the last person on Earth," Merlin said. "You are the only person on Earth, so you are the last." Arthur looked distressed. Merlin smiled. "Come with me." He led Arthur out into the darkness and pointed up to the sky. "How far away is that star?" Merlin asked. "Farther than I can measure," Arthur replied. Merlin shook his head. "It is no distance at all. Beams of light flow continuously from there to here. Therefore, there is no separation between you and that star. You are both part of the same seamless field of light," Arthur protested. "But I can't pluck it from the sky." Merlin shrugged. "Separation is only an illusion. We are all immersed in one unending field of light, which is awareness." He yawned. "Before you go back to bed, will you please hang that thing up again?" Arthur looked down in surprise to see the star at his feet. The ego creates isolation. The most personal thing about you since you were born, your memories and experiences, lead to loneliness and isolation. The wizard is never isolated, however, because ego does not enter into his view of things. Setting ego aside means setting memory aside. When that is done, people are no longer isolated. The individual mind narrows our awareness down. In the wizard's world, Everyone shares the same universal consciousness. We fragment the world by the personal way we view it, experience it, and remember it, creating shells of isolation that no one else can penetrate, not fully. Because it is completely relative, your viewpoint cannot be called real. Reality doesn't depend on a viewpoint, it simply is. The real is the habitat of the wizard. You have to look beyond the curtain of memory to begin to discover the true fabric of reality. Power is a double-edged sword. Ego power seeks to control and dominate. The wizard's power is the power of love. The seat of power is the inner self. The ego follows us like a dark shadow. Its power is intoxicating and addicting, but ultimately destructive. The eternal clash of power ends in unity. Just before he left Merlin's care, Arthur became very moody. He was nearly 15 and had rarely seen other people. Merlin asked him what was the matter. Arthur was hesitant. What I want to know is, well, you want to know what it is like to be in love, perhaps, Merlin ventured. Arthur nodded, relieved. The old wizard smiled and said, You've asked about a truly important thing. Come with me. Merlin led Arthur out into a clearing. In Merlin's hand, a lighted candle appeared, which he held up against the sun. Can you see whether it is lit or not? He asked. No, said Arthur. The sun had made the flame invisible. But what does that have to do with love? The boy asked. Like the candle that becomes invisible, held next to the sun, your ego will dissolve in the overwhelming force of love. The power of love is the power of purity. Love seeks out impurity in order to burn it away. There is no such thing as a loveless person. There are only people who cannot feel the force of love. As seen by the wizards, love is the air we breathe, the circulation in every cell. Compared to love, all other forms of power are feeble. The first step to achieving love as a complete, unshakable aspect of your life is to redefine love. Most of us think of love as an attraction to someone else, as a nurturing force. Although love is all these, the wizard would say that they are all partial definitions. Merlin explained, when the ego says, I love you because you're mine, it is making a statement about domination or possession, not about love. One day you will see a small light in your heart. At first it will be a spark, then a candle flame, then the flame will devour the sun, moon, and stars. At that moment, there will be nothing but love in the cosmos, and yet all of it will still be inside your own heart. Learning to set the ego aside happens in stages. Try the following exercise. Go outside at night and consider the sky spread out with stars. The forces in the universe are immense, beyond the grasp of the mind, and yet the process that gave birth to everything was extremely delicate. What allows this is organization and intelligence, or love. Seeing this is the beginning of trust. Our deep fears tell us that if we didn't fight to survive, we would be crushed by nature's random indifference. In the light of trust, the wizard teaches that you are a privileged child of the universe, entirely safe, entirely supported, entirely loved. The wizard lives in a state of knowingness. This knowingness orchestrates its own fulfillment. The field of awareness organizes itself around our intentions. Knowledge and intention are forces. What you intend changes the field in your favor. Intentions, compressed into words, enfold magical power. The wizard does not try to solve the mystery of life. He's here to live it.